believe it or not, our show prep for this show dealt with a conversation around, are there any pictures available of Charles Manson doing a crossword puzzle? And this is Bog Panda to talk about retro gaming stuff. Imagine that. Interesting prep for that. I'm Kelly at KELLYTHOL on Twitter and Instagram. And with me, as always, not doing a crossword puzzle is.
I'm Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment. Check out our brand new merch store, which has all the kind of filth, floor and filth t-shirts that we weren't allowed to put out before, like Roll Deep. And why don't you check out the world's shortest podcast, Hard No, right here.
There's a t-shirt for that. There's all kinds of stuff. You should check it out. We're adding stuff much more regularly now, and there's some good stuff out there. Coin slot aficionado is out there now. Another one that just couldn't clear the censors under the previous administration. So good deal. But we're going to do kind of a quick show today and talk about, of course, anybody who, so folks are probably familiar with the Sharpin Mini pinball system. So it's basically a do-it-yourself kit put together. Screen size, think about a slightly longer iPad, or one of the big iPads, one of those. You put together, complete the whole unit, sits on top of a countertop, and you got your pinball buttons and a top glass, and you can play some, of the virtual pinball stuff that's out there, and it's pretty cool. And so we'll include a link to the Sharpin site and those, because those do look actually pretty fun. And might be interested, but they've sweetened the deal that if you happen to have one of those fine Sharpin countertop pinball machines, now you can get, again, it's a stand. It's not a riser, because there's no point in having a riser for a countertop, but a stand so that you can, because it'll run off an Android box or a Nintendo Switch or those types of things. So you can play a number of games on it and use it as a monitor. But under its initial configuration, not so great. But now with this stand, you can flip it either horizontal or vertically and play games on it as well as pinball. So a couple questions for you, sir. First of all, have you looked at the Sharpin countertop pinball stuff before and considered it? And then the follow-up question is, what are your thoughts on this new stand that's now available?
Yeah, so I was aware of this. I think we touched on this briefly a while ago, the Sharpin pinball kit. I think it's interesting. It's not for me. The countertop pinball thing I think is cool, but what I'm going for with the kind of game room aesthetic, it doesn't really work for that. The price point too is a little high, I think. It probably, and again, this goes to some of the other things we talked about as far as, like the photo booth and things like that, where what you're getting for the price point probably works out to about what you'd expect when you're looking at the things you're getting for it. But when I weigh that against, you could get a Legends Mini with the pinball kit for that same price. For me, there's no issues in what I would choose there. The stand I think is interesting. When I saw this pop up, I don't love it aesthetically, but I like the idea of it because I feel like you're getting more out of this pinball kit now.
Yeah, it suffers from, I don't know what the problem is with home pinball systems that are more multi-KD, but AtGames, while the AtGames pinball, pretty decent machine, they've really not hit their stride on getting good side art to it. Sharpin kind of doubles down on, you think the AtGames stuff's a little weak, check ours out. It's really not very attractive at all. And so they took the unattractive side art that was on the Sharpin pinball and extended it down to the base. So now you get even more of a pretty unimpressive graphic. So yeah, I didn't care much for the look. I do think it's interesting that, and we're going to include a linked video. Pdubs did a discussion on it where we kind of became aware of it, and he doesn't seem to have any time for this. he was not impressed at all. But particularly when you have it horizontally, it's just kind of like, oh, so it's a monitor. I mean, it's really no different than having a monitor. However, vertically, I mean, at least aesthetically, it looked a little better and it seemed to make more sense. I can kind of get um, the horizontal one where it's just like, so why am I not just doing this on a laptop? Why am I not just
Right.
doing it on a computer? Where at least the vertical setup, you can go, okay, a little more dedicated vertical game playing space. I don't know. Your thoughts?
It makes sense. I mean, but again, in my head, I kind of go back to for somewhere in that same price point area, you could get a Legends Mini with a pinball kit. Then you have vertical or horizontal, you have pinball, a great pinball option at that. So this isn't something that would sway me. If I already owned this though, the Sharpin Pinball, I would definitely get the dock for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I really do think your price point issue is important because realistically, if there's not much of a difference, you're going to get a much better sized uh, environment to play with. As you talk about the ability to go horizontal or vertical without a problem at all, and also just a ton more games. And you don't have to bring your own game serving device, a Nintendo Switch or an Android box or all that, because it's all there. It's, I think probably if you're looking, unless you're really, really tight on space, I think the Mini is a much smarter way to go.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we just wanted to call it out. If we got any Sharpin Pinball folks out there and you want to kind of educate us a little further on if we missed the boat on this, but we just wanted to alert people are out there. If you happen to have a Sharpin, this looks like a great deal. If you're thinking about getting one, make sure you go over to AtGames and look at that Mini a little bit more before you pull the trigger.
Bog Panda.